How's it going, everybody? I hope that you're having a fantastic day, and I'm very happy that you stumbled with me and this podcast. This is actually the first episode that I will be recording, and I am extremely excited to be sharing a lot of me with you guys. And I hope that in the process of just sharing a little bit of myself, there's people out there that might feel some kind of a resemblance or some kind of a they feel identified with what I'm saying. So I'm extremely nervous, to be honest. So I went above and beyond to deliver a good product. And I also want my words to be really good content for you guys. But I am going to start with introducing myself. I am 27 years old. My name is Kevin Cancela, and I am born and raised in Puerto Rico. I have a lot of things that I like to do and that I'm interested in. I enjoy doing hands-on stuff. I enjoy talking to people, making connections. I really like reading comic books, reading books. I love going to the movies. I am very immersed in what fandom is and spaces of fandom. I am extremely immersed in those type of things. I'm a very creative person and I am a very curious person. I like to learn new things. And whenever something caught my eye, I am the first person to kind of like, hey, how does this work? How does this work? And that can go with simple things as like what I'm doing right now and how to figure out how this whole podcast thing work. Or like it can also be like, hey, I'm having an issue with my car and I'm not going to take it to the mechanics because as you guys know, mechanics are freaking expensive right now. So what do? I try to figure out myself. I look it up on YouTube and I try to do it to my like I try to, do what I'm seeing in YouTube, try to do it myself, learn a little bit about the car too, and that type of stuff. With all this, there's I'm saying all this stuff of clarity of like, hey, I like doing all these things and it sounds wonderful, but it's really not that wonderful to me as the actual person who's doing it. I also have my faults and I also have things that I would like to change about myself, not necessarily changing it to like something that I don't want to be, but like kind of like get a little bit more clarity and stuff. And I'll kind of explain that in a second. I'm 27 years old and I have changed career paths or college degrees multiple times because during the process of me finding out all of these things about myself that I like to do, I've also tried to find the place where I fit in the most. And that is something that I've struggled with since I started college, since before college I struggled with this a lot where I was always trying to find in the perfect spot where I fit in uh, as a person and that I would feel fulfilled and like it would get like whatever I'm doing it would give me a sense of purpose, and it's very important to feel that because us as humans we want to belong, we want to belong, we want to feel like our lives matter and all this stuff, and sometimes that journey of finding yourself, it takes a while, and for me specifically has taken more than I would like to admit. To be a little bit more specific, I started off doing communications and I like communications for the same reason that I'm doing it right now. Like this right here is communication. And like I just found the arts and being in front of a camera. I did a little bit of how you say that, theater when I was in college also. So and even in high school. So like I enjoyed the arts and the space of communications and being in front of a camera and talking in front of a mic. That has always been kind of a forte in me. Like I love doing that. However, just because I like it doesn't mean that I like thrived in it, like per se. Like when I sat down to study it and like actually, because this is the cameras and like the mic, this is kind of superficial. Communications has a lot to, there's a lot more in there. And particularly where I was at that moment in time, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like where actually in school for. And back then, the Hurricane Maria happened in Puerto Rico. And I was like, you know what? I am going to drop this and I was going to do something different. Another thing also was there was a lot of pressure because, like, with me, I felt a lot of pressure because back then I was told that if I were to study communications, then I was not going to have any sort of money to like bring food to the table. Essentially, they were saying that if you were to study communications, then you would like die of hunger. That's literally the wording that they use. There, I'm probably sure there's some way of saying it here in the States that makes sense. But essentially, yeah, there was no future in communications. It was oversaturated. Maybe people didn't saw the potential that I had, or maybe they didn't see it the same way that I did, and that's perfectly fine. I I can understand that. Anyways, Maria happened, hurricane, huge devastation in the island. If you're not familiar, I encourage you to kind of like research it. It's the biggest, pretty much, hurricane that happened in Puerto Rico, and it literally almost like destroyed the island. I mean, it literally shattered everything. So like, look it up if you haven't. You don't know what I'm talking about. But I came to Seattle, and I went to Seattle. I worked there for a little bit at a movie theater. And working in the movie theater was actually super cool for me because growing up, I loved movies. When I was in school, I talked a lot about movies and how I felt like movies were good or bad, or like the acting or what that movie meant to me. And it definitely was a stepping stone in my life for me to like say, hey, I enjoy this particular part of movies, and I enjoy talking it to people and telling people what I think about it. So being working in a movie theater was kind of cool for me. I got to see a bunch of movies firsthand. I think I saw Star Wars The Last Jedi. I saw it a few days before it actually came out because they let us use the 4DX, how you call that, the theater. We had a 4DX screen and it had not been used before, and they let us basically use it. So I got to experience firsthand 4DX with Star Wars the Last Jedi, and it's amazing. Anyways, a little bit after that, I decided to come back to Puerto Rico, and I decided to go for engineering. And I would say this: I am I'm good enough in math that I went through pre-cal, calculus, all that stuff. Because I was good at applying myself. If I needed to get grades, I would apply myself, get the grades. Getting it because you have to, and applying yourself because you have to, is not the same as applying yourself because you like what you're doing. And there was also a lot of pressure. Again, I went through engineering because I was like, hey, I got out of communications because of the pressure of, hey, I'm not going to be anybody because there's oversaturated, there's no future there. So I went to engineering because that's hey, this is where the future is. That's another thing that I like hated about where I grew up is like when we were preparing to go to college, the one thing that we talked about the most was like, hey, you gotta do this degree. And like the degrees that they were always talking about was like, you had to be a doctor, you had to be an engineer, you gotta be, I don't know, like something that is just like top of the notch societal, like, hey, you did something with your life, like it's just, if you were like, "Oh, you're doing communications," they're like, yeah, dismissive of you. And unless you actually like hit something, and then you're like, oh, everybody knows you now. Yeah, I knew that person. Yeah, sure. But when I said, hey, I was gonna do this, nobody believed in you. That's the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Like in where I grew up, it was everything about like very professional jobs, like lawyers, doctors, engineers, stuff like that. If you weren't in one of those boats, you weren't going anywhere. Like that was the mentality that I was at. So I did engineering for about a year. I think it was a year or so, and I was like, you know what, this is not for me. And I ended up joining the military. And after I joined the military, I kind of thought about, hey, now I'm in the States. Let me try and get into communications. and I didn't do it. I mean, I tried, but it didn't work out because in the, how do you say this? Because I was working long hours. Like, realistically speaking, I was working long hours, and the only way for me to learn was through online learning. And I had never participated in online learning. Like, ever since to that point, getting to that point, at that point in life, at that point in my time, I had never done a single course that was online, because online was kind of a newer thing back then. So, I failed miserably in that one. I stepped away from school for a second, and I was like, you know what? I was going to do nursing. I decided to do nursing mainly because of the same reason that I did engineering. It's like, well, I can do it. It's not, I don't find it as difficult as, as other things, and it pays well, because at the end of the day, it's the paycheck, the thing that counts, right? Or at least that was what I was thinking back then. And I'm pretty sure that somebody listening right now is probably thinking, like, if I don't go to college for something that leaves me money, then I wasted my time in college. And that is not true. But let me continue. I went for that. And after I did so, I couldn't pass my AMP class. I passed every single course, but I couldn't pass my AMP class. And the more that I tried, the more that I realized that this is not for me, and I just felt burnt out. Like, I really did felt burnt out. And for a moment in time, for a little bit, I started liking a lot of the psychology aspects of, my class that I took of psychology and all that stuff. And I was, you know what? I am going to change again. So I changed from nursing to psychology. By the way, psychology is awesome. So anybody who's studying psychology, and if you're watching this, you're actually in a really good subject. I enjoyed psychology a lot. But the place that I went to school, and I'm not going to mention any names, but the place that I went to school was very politicized. And I don't mind talking about politics at all, but like, when you're in an environment where you're trying to learn, you kind of don't want biases. And when you are in a politicized environment, and there is a lot of biases, and if you think differently, people start to look at you weird. And I was very disappointed with the institution that I went into, and I loved it. By the way, I was super excited to go in there and learn and all that stuff. And there was a few classes that I did learn a lot, but there was a lot more than I just, it was very politicized. It was very uncomfortable, and it made me rethink my decision. And so yet again, once again, I changed. I went from psychology, and I changed to digital. And this was the worst decision that I've made so far. Digital media. Oh, by the way, and I forgot to mention this, I got out of the military while I was doing nursing. Just so you guys know the timeline. So I started nursing while I was in the military. I got out, and then everything else happened, right? But anyways, digital media was a mistake. I knew I was creative, but I am not a computer guy. Like, this thing, I'm having issues. This thing, I spent the whole day yesterday trying to edit a clip in the computer. I am not a computer guy. I can do a lot of things in my phone because it's pretty straightforward and simple, and the layout for some reason is like kind of small, and it's compact and it's easy to use. But like, computers are a whole new beast, and I spent hours yesterday trying to do it. Anyways, just to get a little bit of context, I am really bad with computers. And I did my best in digital media. I didn't actually, enjoy the things that I was actually doing there, because I was struggling a lot. It's fun. There's a lot to learn. Anybody who's doing digital media right now, like, you don't know the value that you have right now. Like, it's amazing. what graphic designers and like UI UX designers are able to do, I don't think it's appreciated, dude. Like I don't really think it's appreciated until you actually take a course and you're like, wow, these people actually do a lot. So kudos to you guys. But anyways, I ended up changing again. But before that, let's go a little bit backwards and talk about what I was doing on the sides while I was going to college. So when I left the military, before I left the military, I worked in customer service in a Gap. After I joined and I left the military, I went back to customer service and I worked for Home Depot for a little bit. I was selling floors. I had my desk. I had my card. It was really fun. It was cool. I didn't know shit about flooring, but I got the job, and it was fun interacting with people. I enjoyed customer service a lot, just talking to people, getting to help them out and all that stuff. I really did enjoy it. I worked a little bit at Nike. That one I didn't enjoy that much because I'm not really a shoe guy. I like shoes, don't get me wrong, but I can wear some blazers and I'm fine. I'm not like, oh, let me get the Jordans or whatever it is. I'm gonna do a line in my phone, and hopefully, if I click fast enough and in a second, I will get in line to get the shoes and not get the sold out message. I'm not that type of guy. I'm really not. Working at Nike was fun. It was cool. The discount was awesome. But other than that, it was not really my cup of tea. So worked at Walmart for a little bit. Actually, pretty much if you put both times that I worked at Walmart, it was a year. And there's a lot of things that I saw there that I didn't like. Walmart is an awesome company, but like they have an issue with leadership and stuff like that. But that's besides the point. What I want to tell you is that during the time that I was working on the side while going to college, I learned a lot of things. I learned about my interests. I learned about what the things that I did not like. I learned about what I saw was morally correct and incorrect. And I saw the person who I didn't want to become, because I saw people who were above me. I was like, that's exactly the person that I don't want to be. So when you look at it, I've been talking for 21 minutes now. And when you look at it, the whole grand scale of it is that, hey, this guy who's talking right now in front of the mic doesn't have a center. He doesn't know what to do. And that's why this video was so hard for me to record, because I am a person with a lot of flaws and I know it. And sometimes I do feel lost. Sometimes I do feel like, hey, I'm doing all this stuff. I feel like I'm swimming, but I'm never getting a rest. I feel like I'm going, but never arriving. I feel like I am in this eternal void or this endless corridor that like doesn't have a finish line. And I look at it and I see that, but sometimes I do see it and I kind of feel good about it. I'm like, hey, you're still here. You're still trying. You're still doing the things that you love, And it's made me the person who I am today. So even though I feel like, yeah, I could have done a better job in some areas, I don't regret any of the steps that I've taken right now. I'm 27, closer to 30 that I wish I would be. But I am happy and excited to be here and share with you guys, The thing, I'm still finding myself, I'm still finding the middle. And this is exactly the name of the podcast, Finding the Middles, stories, becoming, all this things that, the middle is part of, And like I said, I just explained the middle to you guys. It's like this point in time where like you're still finding yourself, and that's completely fine. Like I said before, I'm super excited to be here. And going back to the courses, now I'm doing business management, right? I am super confident entering this degree, and hopefully this will be the last time that I will change. I really do want to get this degree and keep moving forward in life. I currently work in a Fandom store, and I love it. I love working with in a Fandom store because it's like I get to keep this pace of me growing up, and I also get to keep the professional aspect of it. So both the fandom, the professional, the growing up, the things that I want to become, and I can merge them together and be happy about it. So I completely enjoy where I work at. So I'm super excited to start this business management. And I mean, it's just 2 years because I already have my associates, and 2 years and get the things that I need to be successful in the future. Now, this is not exactly a podcast of, hey, I'm going to talk about like psychology things, because I am not a psychologist. I am nowhere near a psychologist. And advice, it can come from me, your parents, your friends, your loved one. And advice is always subjective. You know, it really depends on who you're talking to, what they want for you, who you are to them. So it's really, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to talk about the stories that help me navigate the middle. I'm here to talk about the fandom and the fandom spaces that people like me who haven't really found their center are navigating, because it's comforting, it's safe, it's a safe place, it's a safe space. So I'm here to talk about becoming, you know, and just enjoy it. And obviously, this is from my point of view. It is not the ultimate, you know, it's just a point of view again. So yeah, but yeah, like this right here, I find comfort on both on comic books and video games. I enjoy it, both of them. And as you can see, I really like Marvel Rivals, and I also love Spider-Man and Wolverine. And I have more posters over there. And then in the background over here, you see comics. I really do enjoy comics. I love talking about comics. And we're going to be able to do all that. Talk about comics, talk about video games, talk about movies, talk about the stories that are out there that like somehow will fit into the narrative of like, hey, we're still navigating the middle. We are here, you know. We'll talk about so many different things, and I am so excited to start. By the way, just to say something, this is actually the longest video that I've done so far, so I'm really proud of myself. It's going at 27 minutes right now, and yesterday I recorded like 6 times, and I had to stop at like 9 minutes because I didn't know how to start. So I am extremely happy to be here. So I will talk about all these things that are just part of my journey, you know. I'm hoping that you can identify yourself with what I'm saying again, and I am excited. I'm just excited to start, you know. Anyways, guys, I am so thankful for you guys for joining. If you stuck through this whole video, I am extremely grateful and happy, and I am hoping that if you did stuck through, you can be a part of this second episode that's going to be coming up. I'm not going to give any teasers because I'm not 100% sure whether or not I'm going to be able to do what I think I'm going to do next. But promise you, next episode will be really cool. Again, my name is Kevin Cancela, and this is Finding the Metal, Stories, Fandom, and Becoming. Thank you very much for watching, and see you guys in the next one.